We just talked about how we mix together the facts and our feelings when we look at things. The importance of this discussion lies in our re-examination of what the true content of an artwork is. Each piece, particularly those with substantial real-world content, can be said to display a theme. We've talked about the main idea of a work before. The main idea and the stuff you can touch are different, right? The things you take straight from life are the stuff you physically use, and not everything from life can go into a work. Some things get picked to be in the work, and those form the main ideas. These ideas are pretty basic, and we should all know them. It's like when we were in middle school or elementary school and had to write a story, right? The teacher would tell us to pay attention to life and gather stuff to write about. Then when it's time to write, if you don't have anything to write about, it's a problem. So, in our everyday life, we gather a bunch of stuff, no doubt about it. But let's face it, our daily routine can be pretty dull, and when it comes to writing essays or articles, there's just not much to work with. It's a major bummer. Back when I was a kid, I used to struggle with writing essays too because life was so darn simple. Monday to Saturday, same old routine. Go to school in the morning, finish in the afternoon, come home, do some chores, then hit the books, and off to bed. And what was I supposed to write about? Recall some unforgettable moments, but it felt like there was nothing worth remembering. It wasn't until later that I realized the problem was that I just wasn't tuned in enough, you know? Not tuned in enough to really feel life. But you know what? There's something extraordinary hidden in all those ordinary things. Once you grasp that, those little things become pretty darn meaningful. It's my own personal issue, you see. So, basically, we've got a ton of stuff happening in our lives, and we always have to pick and choose, right? Like, if you go on a class trip to Changfeng Park with your teacher, there's a lot of material there, right? But what parts of that can you use in your writing? It's all about turning those materials into the main focus of your piece. So, how do you decide on these main focuses? Well, your work needs to have a solid structure. See, Zola was all about naturalistic writing, which means just writing about life as it is. No personal stuff from the author, that's Zola's naturalism. But even Zola couldn't stick to that. So, any piece of literature is an artistic creation, that's just how it goes. Because if we were to just copy real life into our work, our real lives are full of all sorts of random stuff. I mean, imagine I'm in the middle of writing an article and suddenly need to use the restroom. Should I write about that? It's just not possible to directly copy real life into our work. So, we figure out the main focus of a piece, deciding which materials to include. That's just how it goes with any kind of creation. So, let's take Dream of the Red Chamber as an example. It's this super long novel with 120 chapters, and the main idea behind it is pretty clear. It's basically about the rise and fall of the Jia family. The family gets busted by the big shots in the imperial court, and everything goes haywire, right? But hey, it all turns out okay in the end, and that's all thanks to Gao Er, who wrote the sequel. At first, it's like everything just falls apart and disappears into thin air. So, Dream of the Red Chamber sticks to this one main idea. If you read the whole thing from start to finish, getting to know all the characters, their relationships, and how things turn out for the important ones, then you've got a handle on the main idea and context of the whole story. So, does that mean you've really understood Dream of the Red Chamber? If we think that just getting the gist of the story and knowing the characters means we've really grasped Dream of the Red Chamber, we're way off. According to Cao Xueqin, the author himself, very few people would truly understand the novel. Remember that poem in the first chapter? It's like, full of crazy words, tears of bitterness shed, they all say the author is a fool, who can understand the true meaning within? Cao Xueqin knew that after his novel got out there, hardly anyone would really get what it's all about, maybe even no one at all. I mean, who doesn't get the plot and the characters, right? But just delving into the themes and facts of the novel doesn't mean you've really got it. So, when can we say we've really understood it? It's when, along with getting the themes and facts, you also get the emotive aspects of the novel. Let's take an example. When you're reading Dream of the Red Chamber, it's like you're getting hit with all kinds of feelings. Every paragraph, every character's story, their talks, and how they all get along, it's like they've got this double-sided vibe, this objective vibe. They're telling you what's happening, showing you how the characters are connected, and at the same time, you're getting a feel for the emotions. Let me give you an example. In Dream of the Red Chamber, there's this part where Grandmother Jia is all hyped up on the night of the Mid-Autumn Festival, throwing a big family feast, sipping on wine and enjoying the moon. When things wind down, two people slip away quietly. One is Shi Shangyun, and the other is Lin Daiyu. They sneak off. Where do they go? They find a spot to chill and admire the moon. They end up at this place called the Concave Crystal Pavilion, with a pond and the moon's reflection shimmering on the water. And then, out of the blue, they get all pumped up and decide to write some poetry. Linked poetry is like a cool poetry showdown, where I drop a line and you gotta come back with a rhyme, and then I gotta match your rhyme with another line, making a sweet poetry couplet. That's what they call linked poetry. You gotta be quick on your feet for this game. In Dream of the Red Chamber, the characters from the 12 Ladies of Jinling are all about that poetry life. So, who's the top dog? It's Daiyu and Shangyun, with Baoyu not far behind. Then, Tan Chun is a bit lower, right? The way this scene is described is super interesting. You can really feel the vibes and emotions that Cao Xueqin put into this linked poetry. It's a way to show off the art of Chinese poetry and the competition between these two talented ladies. When you read it, you can't help but feel the excitement. You get it, but at the same time, you're delving into the emotions and vibes that Cao Xueqin used to showcase the beauty of Chinese culture through the language and poetry of these two characters. The author's emotions and tone are totally in there. It's like he's really pouring his heart out, showing off the mad skills of these two lady poets. It's a poetry showdown, and you can't help but be impressed as each line drops. Then it hit me, Cao Xueqin is a genius. The lines from Shangyun are totally different from Daiyu's. Their hearts are just in different places. I mean, Cao Xueqin is really something. I'm feeling like Daiyu 1 minute, and then bam, I'm Shangyun. It's like, whoa, these emotions are changing so fast. And they're all top-notch, one line after another, creating a complete work that's a big shout-out to Chinese poetry. All that praise and admiration is laid out, right? But how does it end? Shangyun drops in the stillness of the cold pond, a shadow glides as a crane takes flight, and then what does Daiyu come back with? In the chill of the moon's gentle glow, the flower's soul lay buried. That's a wrap. It's like Cao Xueqin is not just praising the art of Chinese poetry, he's also giving his take on the culture. It's a real tragedy, you know? And it's got the fate of these two characters all wrapped up in it. Shangyun ends up wandering around, calling it, the crane's shadow crosses the cold pond. And then Daiyu, well, she bites the dust, the cold moon buries the soul of the flowers. The fate of these two is all hidden in there. From praising our country's poetry to the tragic ending of the whole culture, it's all about the form, not just the thing itself. What does it really mean to get Dream of the Red Chamber? So, Cao Xueqin paints these characters and their relationships based on real stuff, and then he puts it all in a context, giving us an overall view. Basically, he takes all these actual facts and emotions and wraps them up in a neat little package. To truly understand this masterpiece, you gotta see the big picture and get the whole package. That's where the heart of the story lies. Don't just see Dream of the Red Chamber as a bunch of characters and their drama. It's so much more than that. There's a whole world of emotions and a deeper meaning waiting to be discovered. When I was a kid, reading the novel, the thing that me hooked was the suspense of what would happen. No one told me it would end tragically when I first started reading. So, I started wondering, could they actually end up together? Baoyu and Dayu, right? That was the suspense. When I finished the book, oh man. They didn't end up together and it made me really sad. That was it. The story just ended. It was just about the facts, after all. But as I read it and over again, I realized that we can reread the novel throughout our lives. With each reading, our understanding of the story becomes deeper. How the author creates the characters, what is he really trying to say? It's not about the events themselves, they're not that important, right? And foreigners find it kinda weird, especially because a lot of it is about food. So, they can't really understand the importance of those factual contexts. In those factual contexts, we can touch something deeper. The completeness, the emotional display, and the way it all comes together. Grasping the contextual completeness of a work's form, this is a fundamental skill, an ability, of a director, conductor, or performer. Let me give you an example. Suppose someone directs a film and has cast several actors to play the different roles. So the director has to talk to the actors, right? In the talks, the director explains the script. In explaining the script, the director lays out requirements for each actor playing a role. The director tells the actor, this is the role you've been given. In addition to reading the script thoroughly on your own, you should focus on how to perform the character you've taken on. Then the director goes on to inspire the actor with all sorts of explanations. What is the position of this character within the entire work? Why is this character needed? What is the meaning of this character's relationships with others and the path of their destiny? The director keeps talking about these things. Generally, the director's position is higher than the actor's, right? But occasionally, it can be the other way around. Zhao Dan was exceptional in this regard. The director also had to explain the script to Zhao Dan. For this role you're playing, I'll tell you how to perform it. Zhao Dan would listen to it very, very attentively. Then when it came time to actually perform on the set, in the studio, he would often be late. You know how it is with big stars. The other actors would be waiting there early, and Zhao Dan would saunter in late. The director would definitely be irritated at first, but then think, well, he's a big star, I can't afford to offend him. And when Zhao Dan finally arrived, just as the director was about to give him a few words, Zhao Dan would say, no need to explain, let's just start filming. So they'd start filming. And when Zhao Dan's turn came to perform, his performance would absolutely astound the director, going far beyond what the director had envisioned. There would be aspects the director hadn't even thought of, and the director would have to acknowledge, the actor's grasp of the entire work and the significance of the role is deeper and more appropriate than mine. At that point, the director would have nothing more to instruct the actor on. The actor's command of the work and the character exceeded the director's. But what if the following situation arises? Where it's not that the director is superior to the actor, nor the actor superior to the director, and they are evenly matched, what do we do? It does happen, right? Like, the director tells me how I should perform this role, right? After I hear your inspiration or requirement, I look at it myself and feel it's not like that. Then the two of us get into a debate. The actor doesn't buy the director's account, and the director doesn't buy the actor's account either. In the end, the director gets angry. Am I the director, or are you directing? The director bears the highest responsibility in the entire process, doesn't he? Because he bears the responsibility, the artistic success or failure of this entire film, this work, depends on the director. So the director should be the highest authority, right? You must listen to me. Then the actor may not be able to bear it, saying I won't act anymore. How do we resolve such a debate? Assuming the director says your understanding is wrong, and the actor tells the director your understanding is wrong, where is the final arbiter? Everyone, think about it. I haven't even performed yet. This film hasn't been shot yet. Where is the mediation here? Many people will think of finding the original author, right? Assuming the original author is still alive. For example, Zhang Yimou directed that Red Sorghum, right? Assuming Zhang Yimou and Hu Gongli have disagreements about the portrayal of the grandmother character, right? If this disagreement becomes serious, and neither can accept the other, can we bring in Mo Yen? What's the significance? What's the meaning? This is a very natural thought, but it is difficult. There are two reasons. The first is what? After the author has completed his novel, this novel, as a work, has gained its own independent life, separate from the author. At this point, the author's evaluation of his own work is of equal value to our evaluation of the work, and is not superior to ours. This is the first point. The original author's interpretation of the work does not have authority. When we discuss the process and essence of this artistic creation in the future, we will know this. We must never see a work of art as the realization of the author's intention. If that were the case, this work as an artwork would have failed.